Alright, in this video we're going to be looking at adding and subtracting integers. So we are adding and subtracting whole numbers, because remember, an integer is a whole number. Now when we add and subtract integers, there are a few rules that we need to follow. So this video is just going to look at the introduction, and then I will do another one for the more complicated questions. So when you add and subtract integers, you can use the number line. So on our number line, which we looked at in the previous video, you've got all the numbers, and as the numbers get bigger, they get further to the right. The smaller numbers are on the left-hand side, and they keep on going. So if you were to use a number line, when you add, you move to the right. When you subtract, you move to the left. So subtract left and add is right. So let's say, for example, I had a question that said -2 plus 5. So if we go back to the number line, I start at -2 and I'm adding 5. So adding, I can see, moves to the right. So I would literally move 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can see my answer there will be 3. Let's look at another example. Let's say I have -4 plus 3. Again, you would start at -4, so if I add -4 in here, I am adding 3, and adding, I can see, goes to the right. Let's move our cursor. 1, 2, 3. So I see my answer is -1. So if you're subtracting, you would move the other way. So if I'm subtracting, let's say I've got a question that says 3 take 5. So on my number line, you can just draw a rough one. There's 0, 1, 2, 3, and -1, -2, -3. Start off on 3, and subtraction goes to this side, so I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I would see I get -2. So a few little rules that we find will probably be a little bit easier if we don't like to use a number line, because it just takes a little bit longer. Now, if numbers have the same symbol in front of them, so it's the number that it is the symbol that is directly in front of that number. So the same symbol. So for example, if I have -7, take 5. Now, if we put arrows in front of these numbers, these symbols, now these lines here, they could be called minus, subtract, negative. There are a lot of names for them. So they have the same symbol, correct? So the rule that we use to make it a little bit easier is we add the two numbers, just the 7 and the 5, and we keep the symbol that is the same. So 7 plus 5 gives me 12, and I keep that same symbol, so it's -12. So if we wanted to check with our number line, we can. Let's say we have 0 down here. -1, -2, -3, etc., etc. So if we start at -5, if we start at -7, my apologies. So if we start at -7 and we subtract 5, we notice the numbers are going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. So -7 take 5 is -12. So a quicker way of doing it is adding the numbers and keeping the sign. Let's do a few more. So this one here, if we have 10 plus 2, we know this from straightforward addition, but just putting it with our rule, that's a plus symbol. If there is no symbol in front of that number, it's a plus, but we just don't need to write it. Same symbols, we add the numbers and we keep the sign, and we know 10 plus 2 is 12. You don't really write a plus 12, it's not wrong, but you would just normally write 12. So let's look at when it's subtraction. Let's go with -4 take 9. This symbol is a takeaway or a negative or a minus, whatever you want to call it. Same with this one. So we add these two numbers here. 4 plus 9 is 13, and we keep the symbol that is the same that we had originally here, so it is -13, or take 13, minus 13, whatever you want to say. So, next one. If we have different symbols in front of them. So different symbols. Again, we can use a number line if we wish, or something that may be a little bit easier for some of us. If we have different symbols, so for example, if we have 4 take 11. This symbol here is a takeaway, or a minus, or a subtract, or a negative. In front of here, remember, if there's no symbol, it is a positive. So, different symbols. which means I need to use the rule for different symbols. And the rule is I take the smaller number from the bigger number, but I keep the sign that is next to the bigger number. So when I say the smaller number, you literally are just looking at the numbers. Don't worry about the signs. So we know that the signs are different. So if we take this smaller number, 4, if we take that away from 11, so it's like saying 11 take 4, I get 7. But I keep the sign that is in front of the bigger number, so it would be -7. Again, you can check it with a number line if you wish. Let's do another one. Let's go with 17 take 23. That is a take, that is a plus. So I know they're different, so I have to use my other rule now. You take this smaller number from this bigger number. So if you take 17 from 23, or 23 takes 17, you get 6. But I keep the sign that is in front of the bigger number, so my answer is -6. What if I had -16 plus 4? Let's look at my symbols. That is a take, that is a plus. I have a -16, and I'm adding that to a 4. I'm putting that with a +4. Different symbols. So you need to take this smaller number from this bigger number. So if you take 4 from 16, you get 12. Then you keep the sign that is in front of this bigger number here. So it's -12. I'll do a few